Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam has said that proposed new security law for Hong Kong won't affect the city's rights and freedoms. The embattled chief executive called on Hong Kongers to wait to see the details of the legislation.
But ultimately, what is to be provided in this piece of legislation is for all of us to see in order to be assured that Hong Kong's freedoms will be preserved, and Hong Kong's vibrancy and core values in terms of the rule of law, the independence of the judiciary, the various rights and freedoms enjoyed by people will continue to be there.
This comes as the Chinese army garrison in Hong Kong warned pro-democracy protesters. The People Liberation Army said that it was determined to safeguard China's sovereignty. Earlier, China's National People's Congress held a plenary meeting to deliberate the draft civil code. While China says that the security bill is aimed at safeguarding its national security, activists say that the proposed legislation is an attempt to curb Hong Kong's pro-democracy protests.
The next stage of this momentous...
Meanwhile, United States President Donald Trump has warned China of a strong reaction as Beijing prepares to pass a new security bill in Hong Kong.
Its objective is to...
Well, we'll have to see what happens. I haven't seen it yet. I've gotten a little briefing, but I'll have a statement to make at the appropriate time. Okay? Hong Kong's been through a lot.
China hit back at the US, saying that Washington has no right to interfere in Beijing's internal affairs. The Chinese Foreign Ministry added that proposed security law will not impact Hong Kong's autonomy.
Well, we'll have to see what happens. I haven't seen it yet. I've gotten a little briefing, but I'll have a statement to make at the appropriate time. Okay? Hong Kong's been through a lot.
The bill, which proposes to ban what it describes as secessionist activities in the city, has ignited fresh demonstrations in Hong Kong. In several places, the rallies turned violent as police and protesters clashed. The proposed law has received international condemnation, especially because it allows China to bypass Hong Kong's legislature altogether. Joining us on this broadcast is DW's East Asia correspondent Phoebe Kong for more details on this. Phoebe, welcome to Beyond. You know, the big question as China and US are facing off once again, first it was the pandemic, of course, then Taiwan, now China, US facing off once again over Hong Kong. The big question seems to revolve whether this new national security bill or law will hamper the sovereignty of Hong Kong or the rights that has been provided to its people.
Yeah, for many people in Hong Kong, the answer is yes. That people fear that this legislation is going to, it's used as a hamper the autonomy enjoyed by Hong Kong for over 2 decades. Like after Hong Kong returned to Chinese rule in 1997, it's the freedoms and the basic rights and the civil liberties are enshrined in its mini constitution, which is the basic law. So it has gave the promises to the Hong Kong people that they would enjoy the same living style and most importantly, the freedoms they enjoyed before, when they were under the British rule, which they're going to enjoy for the next 50 years until 2047. But this law, national security law, is that which says that they will prohibit subversion, secession, sedition, treason, foreign interference, or possibly terrorism. So this is something that people fear that the definition of such crimes is not going to be clear, that they fear that this will be a tool for the regime and the authority or the police, law enforcement, to crack down on political dissent. Which we are worried that this is going to be a trend in Hong Kong in the next in the near future, and political dissidents or activists or even the press or ordinary people, they will be repressed under this law. Yeah.
Right. You know, the Chinese are willing to take strong-arm tactics, isn't it, to silence these pro-democracy protesters. We saw tear gas shells being used, we saw water cannons being used. Now the Chinese garrison in Hong Kong has warned the protesters as well. So China isn't willing to back down despite parliamentarians from over 20 countries warning China against taking this step.
Yeah, this is what we observed so far. Like, China is not backing down, and we are pretty sure, as like many observers on Hong Kong, they agree that China has already take into account of these kind of strong reactions from the international community. This is something that they had calculated already, because they is within expectation that this is going to spark a huge controversy, not only in Hong Kong itself, but worldwide, because Hong Kong is such an international city that many foreign companies and foreign investments and diplomats are now working in Hong Kong. So this is going to affect the interests of many foreign countries, including those in the West. So I think China, the Chinese government is well prepared for this kind of strong reactions. But anyway, they're not going to back down, because from the perspective of the Chinese government, safeguarding the so-called national security and or safeguarding the stability of the society and the its regime is on its top priority.
Absolutely. You know, you're saying that China was prepared, that it's a calculated move as far as Hong Kong is concerned. But US President Donald Trump has seriously warned China, even threatened with sanctions if China moves against Hong Kong or introduces this new security law. China has said that some politicians in the US are trying to initiate a Cold War with China. Do you have any more information from the Chinese side on this? Do they fear a new Cold War against US?
Yes, as I said, I think they are prepared to go that far already. As soon as they make this announcement of these political bombshell in Hong Kong, this is within an expectation, and it's expected that the U.S. will react very strongly. As we see, the U.S.-China relations have been really stressed over the past 1 to 2 years, because of the trade war between China and the U.S. and because of the China policy adopted by President Trump. So this is going to intensify the tensions between the two superpowers in the world. And from the perspective of the Chinese government, I think they are not they are not terrified because of this kind of reaction. And as long as we see the relations between the U.S. and the China further worsen during the COVID-19 pandemic. So I think they are not going to reconcile in the near future, especially before the American presidential election in November.
Right, Phoebe Kong from DW News, thank you so much for joining us, getting us all the updates on the Hong Kong situation. Certainly, this seems to be another flashpoint between America and China.